Obligatory tiff which didn't happen today. Me, F, 21, and my boyfriend S, M, 23, share a very fun and friendly relationship. We often play fight. A few days back we were play fighting, with me trying to tickle him and he restraining me and trying to lick my face. I bruise easily and he is basically bones. So, if I struggle against him, I end up hurting myself. This time too, I was struggling to get out of his bear hug and I moved my head and accidentally hit the headboard and it got a bit swollen there, nothing serious. We continued and eventually, we realized there were bruise marks all over my body. It didn't hurt, just blue-green bruises. And one was in shape of his fingers around my wrist. Now, I was supposed to meet my friends later in the evening, and I met them, after trying and failing to hide my bruises. However, one of my friends saw that finger mark on my wrist and now everyone thinks that S is physically abusing me. I told them that we were just playing around, but since I've been in a physically abusive relationship before, they think that I'm just scared and lying. Poor boyfriend, he never hurts me, we have safe words to use if the other person is getting hurtful. But now, a lot of my friends think he beats me. DLDR, I was play fighting with my boyfriend and got bruises all over and now my friends think he is physically abusing me. This happened a few months ago before COVID. I live in Hawaii and my wife's family was having a beach party for her dad's 60th birthday. Anyway, we stopped by the market on the way to the party to buy some beer and food for the party. I should mention I don't drink that much and rarely buy alcohol. I get to the cashier to check out and she sees the beer and asks, "Your birthday?" I say, "No, it's my father-in-law's birthday and we are having a party for him at the beach. He's just turned 60 so it's kind of a big birthday and we have family coming from the other islands." With a lifeless look on her face she says, "I need your birthday date, so you can buy the beer." I felt like such an idiot. I always forget you have to give your birth date to buy the alcohol. We usually go to a store where you punch it in on the credit card reader. And #X200B. DL, doctor, I gave the cashier a long personal answer when she just needed my birth date to buy alcohol. This is my first post, so be gentle. My summer work uniform consists of khaki pants and a plain red polo shirt, so you see where this is going. It's been very hot this week and I decided to stop at Target on the way home from work to pick up some ice cream and popsicles for my family. I made it 10 feet into the store when someone asked me if I worked there. I kindly explained that I did not and moved on. Soon after, I was standing near the ice cream freezer with a shopping basket in my hand when a college kid asked me if the store carried a certain brand of ice cream. I showed her my basket and explained that I didn't work there, but realized that my outfit totally made me look like I did. We both had a good laugh about it and started looking for the ice cream brand together. While we were looking, an older woman stalked up to me and yelled, "You've been helping her long enough. Now show me where the dog food is." I held up my basket, now with several boxes of popsicles in it, and explained that I did not work there. She got really upset and told me that even if I was on my break and shopping that I still had to help her. I slowed down my speech and said I do not work in this store. That set her off and she stormed off to find the manager and get me fired. The college kid next to me laughed through the whole incident and told me to post it here. I know it doesn't sound real but a customer actually said this to me and I gasped. So I work at a clothing store and they send coupons out through the mail/email. Well, we are only supposed to give the customer the discount if they have the actual coupon code. Even though I knew the code, but you know how people take advantage of your niceness and my boss was tired of these people. Well, this happened when I was still new to this job. So here I am ringing this lady up and it comes out to nearly $700. So I tell her the total and she's looking at me like she's expecting something and says, "Where's my 40%? Well, I tell her that I need the physical coupon or the code they would have emailed her. Well, she starts getting all worked up because she wasn't signed up for the emails and she left her coupon at home. So I tell her I'm sorry I can't add the 40% and then she has the audacity to say, "Oh well, my husband tried to kill himself last night and deleted our internet." Girl, what? Like, what am I supposed to do with that information? Your husband tried to end his life and in the process managed to call Spectrum and delete your account? I ended up just getting my manager because I had no idea what to say to that. And she walked away in a puff when he said no and apparently she uses that excuse all the time. Like what? So a couple years ago, when I was starting out as a night auditor, I was checking this family of 4 in on a sold-out night, and I see that they're coming all the way from New Zealand. We're in the western US, cool. I check them into the last room that's available, which is on the second floor. The moment I tell them their floor and room number, the father, we'll just call him Kyle McDadjo, who was in charge of the Rees, looks at me like I just slung slurs at him and his family. The guy goes into a small rant, complaining that because he booked the room 2 months prior, he should have a room on the first floor. Well buddy, sorry I didn't know that it somehow worked that way. There's no request for a ground floor room in the reservation notes, and you are literally the only arrival I have on a sold-out night, so this is 0% my fault. What were you doing in those 2 months instead of contacting us to make such a request? I offer to haul their bags up the stairs, we have no elevator, for them, which they accept, and I never heard back from them for the rest of the night at the least. Lesson to guests: if you're booking a room in advance, you need to tell us any special requests you have. We are not psychics. If you book through Xfisho or Nooking.com, they have messenger features that you can use to communicate with us, and failing that, the hotel likely has a phone number, email address, and/or website contact form you can reach to let them know what your requests are. If you book weeks in advance and wait to tell us at check-in what your requests for floor, room location, or accessibility are, you're not allowed to complain if we can't fulfill them, because the last room available is that poorly sound-insulated room that's next to the street. Many moons ago, before the Great Lockdown, I was working at a furniture outlet store. I was surviving a young woman getting her a TV she had ordered. I took it out to her car even though I was not supposed to. Customers should be backing up to our pickup doors, but it was slow, so I did her a favor. After loading her TV in her car, I get her signature on my clipboard, and after she hands it back I look down at her license plate and she sees me. This is what starts the problem. Her: what are you doing? Me: writing down your license plate number. Her: why? Me: we write down the license plate of the people that pick up our items. It is to make sure people don't try and pick up items twice, or to give info to cops if someone gives a fraudulent payment, but she does not need to know the full reason. Her: you are not allowed to write down my license plate. Me: why not? Her: it is illegal. I take a moment to process this woman's statement and think to myself, how can it possibly be illegal to take down your license plate number, the most public information possible? It is on the outside of your car for the very purpose of letting people take it down if needed. After a moment's pause I respond. Me: I am sure it isn't. Her: no it is. I know what I am talking about. My uncle is a cop and he told me so once. And so we get to the root of the issue. Little Miss is one of those types that thinks because she is vaguely associated with someone who knows what they're talking about that her word is law on this subject. So I do what any good minimum wage slave would do. Pass the issue up. Me: I can get my supervisor for you if you want to talk to him about it. Her: yes please. I sit in to watch her have it out with the super. After about 10 minutes the super just agrees with her to get her to shut and leave. He then comes over and says to me she has no idea what she is talking about. Just keep doing what you're doing. So with the momentary crazy having passed, I go back to my normal day, still wondering what could have ever made he come to such a conclusion. So I've been working at home for a call center for the past few weeks, and for the most part it's been tolerable. The company I do customer service for is a smaller scale MLM/pyramid scheme sort of company, so there's a fair amount of angry stay-at-home moms trying to get refunds, but for the most part it's just taking order and fixing shipping mistakes. Not the worst job I've ever had, and it pays great. Given that most grievances I get are with totally BS company policies, I am almost never personally attacked. However, my favorite bad call so far was from this lady named Barbara, and I had to mute myself to keep her from hearing how I really felt about her. So Barbara was funny because she got her box and there was nothing wrong with it. Her anger came from the fact that there was some letters missing in her last name on the shipping label. Her mailman had been kinda confused about why that would be and didn't deliver it right away. I guess he wanted to call her first or something? She was livid. I kept my cool right until the end of the call. She'd been blaming other people for the mistake the entire time, having no reason to find fault with me, but then we got to the end of the call. Barbara, thank you so much for listening to my rant. I'm just so upset, yada yada, it's not your fault. Me: no problem, Barbara. Barbara: wow. I cannot believe you just said that, said in the voice of a woman who'd been shot in the gut. Me: sorry? Barbara: I come from another generation, young lady, no duh, and I cannot believe you would be so rude. Me: I am so sorry about that, Barbara. I mean, I was kinda sorry I hadn't hung up earlier, so not technically a lie. Barbara: you aren't sorry. I know you aren't. And you really ought to think before you speak, because And the monologue ensued. She went right for me and told me I was bad at my job, didn't care about her, and was overall unhelpful. Completely ridiculous 180 jump as I actually hadn't done anything at all. At this point I'm laughing with my hand on the mute button. She hung up on me after she noticed I wasn't really responding too much anymore. She said she was reporting me or something for being rude, so I texted my supervisor just to make sure he'd listen to the call and verify I did nothing wrong just in case. Really can't afford to lose my job, so best be safe. Oddly enough, it was listening to that call that made my supervisor decide I was good enough at my job to warrant an award that month, and I got a free Amazon gift card. So, thanks Barbara. Also seriously, who hurt you? So the fallout literally happened 5 minutes ago. My mom, brother and I are reeling with laughter. My family is on a road trip, and we have a nice chest full of drinks. It doesn't fit in the car, so it's tied up on the roof of our car. My dad was feeling particularly in a rush to get on the road this morning, so he told my brother just to put the rope over the chest and tie instead of properly tying it down. My brother protested and insisted on tying it down properly so it wouldn't fall off the roof of the car. My dad told him to just do as he said. They continued to argue about it until my brother just sighed. He knew what was going to happen, and my egotistical father would rather be on time than do things properly. Of course, my brother was right. The ice chest flew off the top of the car. Lost most of our drinks, and my dad had to run out in the middle of the highway to retrieve it. Now it's properly tied down and my brother is sitting smugly in the back seat, and my dad is usually quiet now, probably from embarrassment. This took place in San Francisco in the early 90s. I was a 33F living alone in San Francisco. I had a good job and I was very interested in real estate. I decided to walk to a neighborhood grocery store to pick up a real estate magazine. That's what you did back then. We didn't really have the internet yet. It was a rare, warm evening in SF, and there were quite a few people walking around outside. I was walking behind a group of about 5 or 6 apparently unrelated people. At least, they weren't talking to each other, so that is what I assumed. I am rather short, so all I could really see was their backs. Suddenly, without a single word from any of them, they all turned around and started walking back in the direction we had just come from. I was a bit amazed by this, and turned to look at them, sort of shrugged it off and kept going in my original direction. As I turned my head, I was stunned to see a man just in front of me pointing a gun at me and grinning like a madman. He was about my height, wearing those green mechanics overalls, covered head to toe in grease and dirt. Startled, I was about 2 feet from him and my gut reaction was just to continue going forward. So I passed him, every muscle in my body tense, heart racing, and kept walking. To my dismay, I heard his footsteps following me. Then he started whispering, "Oh, you're a bad idiot, huh? Why don't you run, idiot? Run." At that moment my mind seized on the belief that he was waiting for me to run before he shot me in the back. He seemed to want it so badly, so I was determined to do the opposite. I kept walking, expecting to feel a bullet slam into my spine at any moment. That shot didn't come, and I believe then and now that if I had run, that would have given him the piece of his fantasy that he needed. If that makes sense. Anyway, I headed up a hill and around a corner to a gas station with people in it. It was dark already. When I turned around, he was gone. A few years ago, I worked at a sporting goods store that sells firearms. Some customers would buy online and have those items shipped to the store and then come in for the background check and pick them up. A customer comes up to the gun counter and says he has an order for pickup. I check the safe and find the guy's firearm and unbox for his inspection to ensure this is what he ordered and it is in good condition, as there are no returns on firearms once they are purchased. This order was for a very nice and expensive Browning Citori over/under 28 gauge shotgun. Of course I get to handle it and admire the beautiful craftsmanship of the inlay on the receiver, as these are rarely seen in the store, especially in 28 gauge. This is the conversation that followed as we're filling out the paperwork. Me, wow. This is truly an amazingly exquisite shotgun. Customer, yeah. It's also the most expensive one you guys have available online, at $2,500. But I didn't pay that. Me, really? Well, if you don't mind me asking, how much did you get it for? Customer, $1,250. Me, what? How did you manage that? Customer, well, I bought a cooler for $100 a few weeks ago and it wasn't big enough, so I tried to return it. However, your store's policy dictates that without a receipt it can only be refunded for the lowest sell price in the last 30 days, which at one point was on sale for $70. I wasn't going to take that, So I talked to your manager. After 30 minutes of arguing, he was unwilling to make an accommodation and advised me to call the 1-800 customer service number. So I did. I had to wait on hold for more than 2 hours to talk to a rep, and after explaining what happened, I was offered a 50% off coupon on any one item online or in store. Now, I don't really need a new shotgun, but I found the most expensive one to use my coupon on just to stick it to your company for your manager's unwillingness to return the cooler for full price. Me, that is awesome. What did you do with the cooler? Customer, I returned it and happily accepted the $70. Oh, and if you see your manager, tell him I'd like to treat him to dinner, because calling the 800 number was the best advice he could have given me. Me, intro, account verification. Angry lady, I've been trying to get a hold of, supervisor name, for weeks. I checked the account notes, she'd first called in 4 days prior, and she's allegedly never available when I call. I'm going to ask you to transfer me to her right now, and I don't know what I'm going to do if you say she's not available. Sure enough, the sup she's asking for is currently on a call. At the time, we had been really busy and were massively understaffed, so sups were having to take calls most of the day. And since it was about 9 p.m. at night, there was no other supervisor on. Me, I'm very sorry, but, sup, is currently on a call. But I'm happy to see if there's something I can help you with. AL, no. Every time I call in, you people don't understand what the problem is. Sup, is the only one who can help me. Me, okay, well I'm not sure how long her current call will take, but I can ask her to call you back either tonight once she's done, or tomorrow. AL, no. I need to speak to her right now. I'm working tomorrow, and I'm going to bed soon. When will she be done with the call? Me, idiot, how would I know? I'm sorry, but I'm not sure. AL, dramatic sigh. You know, I'm starting to believe that all of the people I talk to are lying to me, and, sup, isn't actually on the phone. She just doesn't want to talk to me. Me, no, I can assure you that's not the case. I can see that she's on a call right now. We've been very busy lately. AL, I don't care how busy you are. She needs to speak with me. Me, and as I said, depending on how long her current call takes, she may be able to give you a call back tonight. Otherwise, I can ask her or another supervisor to call you tomorrow. AL, I have to speak with, sup. I don't want to talk to anyone else. She's familiar with what's going on with my account. Me, I understand. What time would be best for her to give you a call back? AL, you're not listening to me. I need to talk to her now. I won't be able to talk to her later tonight or tomorrow. Me, ma'am, I'm sorry, but she isn't available to speak with you right this minute. AL, you're lying. Don't lie to me. I know she's there sitting next to you, laughing because she doesn't want to talk to me. I was working from home, so this was incorrect. Me, no, she isn't. She's just on a call. AL, I'm going to ask you one more time, and you better not lie to me. Is sup available? Me, no, she's on the phone. AL, I've had it. I'm done with you people and your lies. How can she always be on the phone, every time I call? How is that possible? Me, well, this is a call center, ma'am. Al then makes a sound I can best try it as, ugh. AL, I'm done. And praise the Lord, she hung up. I'm a courtroom assistant in a Southeast Asian country. I'd rather not get much further than that on identifying information. We do both security and practical assistance like moving displays, escorting juries, and some ceremonial stuff as well. This was the sentencing of an evil flip on several high crime offenses, similar to what a capital offense may be in America. Here high crime is the level above criminal offense, or felony for the rest of the world. He stalked, kidnapped, raped, and murdered a locally famous and growing pop artist who was pregnant. He was charged with stalking, high crime kidnapping, high crime rape, high crime murder, high crime fetal homicide, and a bunch of other stuff. Evil Flip, as he will be referred to from here on out, was on suicide precautions as he made threats against his own life in prison, so he was in spiffy paper clothes. We were well into victim impact statements. The victim had a large family and there were something like 35 individuals addressing the court. We're something like 28 statements into it. Next up was Granddad. These are always really emotional, families are always really upset for good reason, but this 80-plus old guy is the worst I can remember. He was crying, breathing heavily, shaking, the entire sentencing. He was called to make his statement, starts walking up, about past the counsel table. He then turns, tackles the attorneys and evil flip. He didn't get much in on the evil flip, maybe a kick and 2 punches before 15 of us pile up on him. He was taken into custody, and it quickly became apparent that evil flip got what was coming. Evil flip is screaming and gagging for about 20 seconds, then he starts convulsing, came back in about 2 minutes choking/gagging, really bad. We put him on his side and get an ambulance on the way. The rest of the gallery was evacuated and court went into recess. By time the ambulance arrives he's not breathing, only twitching and has no pulse. They do CPR, take him out to the hospital. He was revived and died later that day. Coroner's report said his brainstem was damaged, his skull was broken, and brain herniated through break in his skull. The granddad was interviewed by national police who have jurisdiction of courts. He said that he'd been planning that for days, he felt no remorse, said if he had time he would have killed the attorneys too. It also came out that the granddad was in my country's mob back in the day, had 40 years in prison prior for drowning someone in petrol and lighting their corpse on fire. He was suspected but not confirmed to be involved in several other high-profile murders. He was charged with murder, conspiracy, contempt of court, and 2x simple battery for the attorneys. He was found not guilty of everything except contempt of court, to which he was originally sentenced to 4 years but it was reduced to terminal probation with home confinement due to his health. I had been talking with this girl for at least 2 months, and had been crushing for about 4. Finally I got invited over to her house for a party. We had known each other for about a year and were close enough. I am the guy who chills over in the corner of a party and really only ventures to the snack table. I'm not really a party person, so there I am chilling at the table next to a homemade blueberry muffin that she baked earlier that morning. She walks over and asks what I'm grabbing to try and make small talk, and I reply with, "Just going to get a few chips." She then replies with, "You should try one of these," in reference to a blueberry muffin that she made. I then make the stupidest comment I have made in years. "I would gladly eat your muffin any day." Aggressive silence ensues. I show myself out about a minute later, no muffin eating of any sort, and a speeding ticket. DL, doctor, I embarrass myself with a sexual innuendo in front of my crush and get a speeding ticket on my way home. So there I am, doing an exterior patrol through a huge parking lot at night. I'm busy looking around for homeless people or Russians or whatever. Then, I hear the most pathetic whimper/squeak ever. I jumped back a bit. I then looked down to see a frog that I accidentally stepped on. The sadness in his eyes broke me. What were the odds that I'd step on him? I knew I should have put him out of his misery with a swift blow from my baton, but I couldn't. I instead watched as he attempted to hop away, but it looked like I had broken his leg and definitely some ribs. I just walked away. I let the little guy continue suffering only to probably get torn limb from limb by a hawk or swallowed whole by a snake. I went inside and hit the vending machine hoping that the king-sized Kit Kat bar would ease the pain, but it just didn't taste the same. So this happened in January. Frustrated by my current job, I started looking for jobs outside. I signed up on a job search website, made my profile, filled all the details, uploaded my resume. After a week or two, I realized I haven't got a single call. Disappointed by this, I opened my profile on the job search portal, only to find out that there were at least 30 views on my profile. My self-doubt kicked in, making me question my skills. Later that week I got a mail from one of the recruiters asking for my resume. I wondered, my resume is already on my profile, why is she asking for it? Opened my profile to check my resume only to find out I have uploaded my thyroid test instead of my resume. Looks like my thyroid test impressed the recruiter who wrote me back asking for my resume. The recruiters must be thinking this guy is on another level, trying to land a job by gaining sympathy using his thyroid result. But I guess I really made some 30-odd recruiters' day. TLDR, uploaded my thyroid test instead of my resume on a job portal. Hello fellow front desk workers. Tonight's tale involves myself and my lovely guest, noise complaint Karen. The phone rings. Me, front desk, this is Eat More Unicorns, how may I help you? NCK, the people in the room next to me are being loud. They were loud all last night and now they're being loud again tonight and I want it taken care of right now. Me, not a problem, I can send someone up to ask them to quiet down in just a moment. NCK, I want a full refund if this doesn't stop right now. I didn't get any sleep last night and I'm not going to put up with it again tonight. Me, unfortunately since I didn't receive any calls last night, I was unaware that there was an issue. If I would have been aware at the time, I could have put a stop to it so you could have gotten some sleep. Since I'm aware of it tonight, I'd be happy to send someone up to let them know they're being too loud. Is there anything else I can help you with tonight? NCK scoffs and hangs up. This happened a few hours ago and I haven't heard anything from her about it since. After looking at her reservation, I noticed she booked third party, so I can't give her any discounts even if I wanted to. I don't. I can't wait for her to come down to check out and demand a refund so I can shoot her down. I don't know what's going on in my area right now. I'm kind of studiously staying away from the news because I don't want to have a constant anxiety attack. What I do know is that every shift I've pulled since coming back from furlough, I have at least one person either call or come in to ask about monthly rates. We don't do monthly rates. We don't want to deal with the tax change from guests to residents. So when I tell people the best price I can give, which is 65 plus tax, which hurts my heart because this is supposed to be summer rush and we're supposed to be getting at least 15 more than that, they always act like I've smacked their mother and have insulted their puppy because how dare I not give them 500 per month. And they always pull some number like that out. Always starting with a 5. 500, 550, never up to 600, though. Sorry, friends. It's expensive to live in a hotel. Even in these times of COVID. Plus, I know that if you decide to stay here for a month, the room is going to be horrible by the time you leave. No, we won't rent to you for a month at a time. Period. About 2 years ago I was walking through an art store that I frequent. I was dressed in sweatpants and a band shirt so I in no way looked like an employee. This little older woman came up to me while I was picking through some paints and asked where an item was. I know the entire layout of the store since I frequent and she was really sweet about it so I take some time to show her. Once we get to the aisle she is looking for she asks if I can help her pick which one she needs. She was buying something for her grandchild and didn't realize that there would be so many choices for the spray she needed. I helped and asked if she needed anything else. I had a ton of time on my hands. She said that she didn't, thanked me, and walked away. I've never seen her again and I don't have some big finale, but I see a lot of Karens in these stories. I figured it would be nice to share a wholesome story. So this happened this morning. I was booked in for a 9 a.m. glucose tolerance test. It's a mandatory test for all pregnant women who have a family history of diabetes. You have to fast, they take some blood, then give you a sugary drink that is like flat lemonade with 3 more bags of sugar added that tastes awful, leave you to sit for an hour, take more blood, leave you an hour, take more blood. Well, the nurse gives me this stern warning: do not chug the drink. I was having done the test twice before I was ready for the horrible drink but was quite surprised to find out that this time I couldn't taste the horribleness of it. At this point, I realized I was quite thirsty and proceeded to chug the drink. The nurse sends me to the waiting room and says she'll be back for me in 55 minutes. No big deal, pull out my laptop and start to study. 30 minutes later, I started feeling a little nauseous which quickly built into all-out shakes and feeling I was going to faint. I sent my fiancé to grab the reception lady while I lowered myself from the chair to the floor. At this point I was completely out of it. I opened my mouth to call out to my partner and wound up vomiting all over the floor. In the waiting room was 5 little old ladies and an old man who all went pale and looked mortified. I tried to apologize but ended up vomiting again, followed quickly by 4 more vomits before my partner reached me with a vomit bag too late. The lady working reception was left in shock and didn't know how to respond as she's only been working there for a week. The nurse came out, took one look at me and shook her head. I now have to go back Monday and try all over again. This time I won't chug the drink. DL, doctor, I chugged a super sugary drink as part of a blood test and threw it all up on the waiting room floor because I didn't listen to the nurse. Obligatory, I'm on mobile. Yada yada. This happened a long time ago, 14 years if I recall, and I was in middle school at the time. One day after school, my mom and former stepdad were going into town to celebrate mom's birthday. On the way there, I started to feel sick, mainly in the stomach. I don't know if it was due to motion sickness or a bad school lunch or maybe I passed a kid with stomach flu at school earlier that day or something. All I know is that I felt awful. I told mom and FT, former stepdad, about it, and since we were already halfway to where we were going, we just hoped it would subside when we got to our destination. Spoiler alert, it didn't. We made it to our destination, a restaurant famous for its spaghetti. While we were waiting to be seated, more of our family members started showing up, including one of my horrible aunts. She sat next to me talking to my mom or something, I don't know, since I was focusing on not throwing up and just tuned her out. Now, It's worth noting that I was sitting there, doubled over and favoring my stomach. It was obvious I wasn't feeling okay. Well, Auntie must have picked up that I'm not feeling well and tried getting my attention. How? By poking me repeatedly in the stomach. As soon as she did that, I went off on her and shouted, "If you don't knock it off right now, I'm going to throw up all over you." She immediately backed off, but the damage was already done. I got up to run to the restroom and, too late. I'll spare you the details, but I will say, it was unpleasant all around. Eventually FD took me to the stall where I continued yakking non-stop. Non-stop. I just wanted it to end, so in my brilliance, I forced myself to stop and just hope that everything I let out was enough to make this crappy feeling go away. Spoiler alert, lol no. Finally, I found where we were seated and took my seat, right next to Andy. Now, a lot of you already see where this is going, just wait, it gets better. When I sat down, everyone was asking if I was okay, except for Andy. Not even an apology. After a short while of sipping Sprite to calm my stomach and waiting for our food to arrive, lo and behold, the feeling came back. Only this time, I didn't get up. Instead I turned to my right, where Andy was sitting. In the end, we were asked to leave the restaurant. Andy's clothes and brand spanking new purse was ruined, and we got free dishes out of the whole ordeal. I still laugh about it to this day. I work in a place where many of the workers are from other countries. It's one of my favorite things about the job. Well, I got a call the other day from a lady who was asking about our COVID restrictions. Specifically, she asked if we still had a lot of POC serving food, etc. BC she didn't think it was safe. Then she said, "I know it's a delicate question. Dude. I almost fell on the floor from this idiot. WTF? I told her that we had lots of returning staff, so she said she'd just not come this year. Gross. Who wants you?" I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee. Cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about DJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. So, I just started my week this evening. So far everything has been okay enough I suppose. Dude at my door just buzzes, needs a room. I get him in and it goes a little something like this. Him. Man, I just need a room. I'm gonna level with you. I just had it out with my GF. Me, okay, let's see what we can do. I have X at the rate of Y. Him, let me stop you right there. It's what? 1 in the morning? Me, no sir, it's a little after 3. Him, even better. I know if I don't take this room that you're probably not going to sell it so I need a discount. Me, well, I mean, unfortunately I don't make the rates. I just tell you what my computer tells me. The entire time he's talking to me I have my mask on and my eyes are as dead as my grandma and I'm just staring at this dude. I think he noticed I was out of shoots to give, but nonetheless, he persisted. Him, okay, well then I know, insert random name. She works in housekeeping. Me, okay. Him, so. Do you know her? Me, I mean, I know who she is no longer working here. Would you like this room? Him, so I can't use her discount then? Me, no. Even if she was still working here, employee rates have to be booked through the system, or approved in advance by management. Him, well, how many rooms do you have tonight? Me, pulls random number out of my ass. He HMMS and haws and finally pulls out a CC and ID. As I'm getting ready to run his card he stops me. I know the card is going to decline anyway. He asks about the hotel up the corner. I give him the info I have and he asks me to check with them. I do. It's more, it's always more. The clerk there asks if he's local. I say yes and she says my 4 favorite words, "We don't do locals." I inform him of such, he whines a bit, asks about the meth motel next door, not open at night. I suggest the cheapest place in town, on the other side of us. He asks how they are. I was like, well, it's a 60-something room, it's not gonna be fancy. After moments of internal debate he decides to try his luck over there. Hopefully they'll take him because I don't want him coming back here then having to deal with a declined card. I know it's nothing big this time, but I noticed other posts lately about the late check-in logic, so I thought I'd share my newest. I have seen a lot of things, but this was a new one for me. For context, I'm at a large full-service property, big brand and all. Anyway, I get a case from corporate. When someone calls the 800 number to complain, this actually just gets sent right back to the property, and at first glance it looked like your standard rant against housekeeping and whatnot. Then I read closer. Karen, not her real name, is also complaining about the concierge lounge, which has been closed for 4 months, thank you COVID. At this point I am curious as to what is happening here, so I look the guest up. She stayed here in December 2015. Her last reservation was over 4 years ago, and she is now complaining about the stay. I emailed her the standard apology, and asked if she could confirm when she stayed with us. Not only did she confirm and was over 4 years ago, she also asked for a comp night for the future. I have no issue with people complaining about legitimate issues, but you cannot expect shoot if you wait 4.5 years to call corporate. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the imps got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. Before lockdown, I attended a number of craft fairs as a supplier. I often have an extra area where I offer one-on-one crafting tuition. Usually, 2 or 3 times a day, someone will be looking at the stalls, either side of me, and will wander over to me and try to pay for things that aren't from my stall. I usually point them nicely back to the stall that the items are from, but there is always one who insists that they are from my stall. With these, if they are paying cash, I just give in and take their money, then walk it over to the correct stall, tell them exactly what was bought, yeah, for the photographic memory, and hand them the money. The only time that this doesn't work is when they want to pay by card. So, I work in the deli department and today was stressing to say the least. Since my location also prepares the online shop for half of the state, not American, so a lot smaller, we had a lot of trouble getting the bread, preparing the snacks, just overall was stressing. I am a slow worker and have trouble concentrating and prioritizing certain tasks, and when I am finished with one task, I can't tell which one to do next. So in the end, I just ran. From 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., I did have a break, but I got more and more disorientated. Turning around and there was another customer. Each customer ordered like 4 buns with open the fresh one or also add those 3 other things, that you don't even have and/or wait. I changed my mind, argued about certain rules. I was one stupid comment away from just walking out. At 2 p.m., I still had lots of things to do. For the online shop, for my coworkers and for my boss. I just finished serving a customer, when this angel of a man came. I told him, please, just a moment. And ran to the oven, threw the bread in and ran back. I probably hit my arm on 3 objects in those 10 seconds. And he just, now, let's just breathe, he said. I nearly felt like crying, because he was so calm. I inhaled and he smiled, as seen by his eyes, and this simple gesture slowed the world down. My head stopped spinning. Are you better? He then asked and I was. Thank you for treating me like a human. I guess this isn't that bad in the grand scheme of things, but it was a little awkward at the time. A customer pulls up in the drive-thru with a deposit, she's in the passenger seat. I take the contents out of the tube, scan them and count the cash. I ask her to confirm the total, but she gives me a weird look. It doesn't sound right. Of course she doesn't know what it's supposed to be, people never do, so she says she sent 2 business checks, a personal check from her dad and the cash. I'm missing the personal check. The guy driving gets really rude and starts ranting about how he's 100% sure that he put the check in the tube, that I must have lost it blah blah. I'm 8 months pregnant and must seem fragile because anytime my manager hears someone giving me a hard time she immediately comes to my rescue. So she comes to the drive-thru and helps me look for the check. We look everywhere we can think of including pulling the contents of my trash can out onto the counter. The guy is still ranting and raving. I told him I'm sorry, we can't find it anywhere and can they have the person write them another check? He says yeah, her dad is on his way now. So a few minutes later her dad pulls up, and I apologize for the trouble. Tell him I'll transfer the $60 out of his account into hers and put a stop payment on the check. He says it's all right, calls his wife to get the check number, and I do the transfer then go to finish the other cash and checks. When I went to print the receipt it jammed in my scanner, so I flipped the back open to get the jam out and there's the darn check. I was so flustered I didn't even think to look there first. It didn't give me an error message like it usually does when there's a jam, woman facepalming, so I had to tell them that I had lost their check and found it in my scanner. They were pretty smug about it and I could tell they just thought I was an idiot. Then I called the dad and told him we had found his check and I would shred it. And apologized for him having to make a trip to the branch. The whole thing sounds very silly but probably took a good 15 or 20 minutes between looking for the check and waiting on the dad to show up. Anyway, I was pretty embarrassed. I want to hear about stupid stuff you guys have done at work. This just happened less than 10 minutes ago. With this lockdown, I have decided to feed the birds, and squirrels, the gray kind. Now, a few months ago I got one of those cheap plastic feeders. Ha ha ha. The gray, as I will call him/her. Since I do not know if it is male or female or even the same one. Eat through the bottom of the feeder and all the nuts fell out. Petty revenge I decided to get a couple of squirrel-proof bird feeders. Ha ha. Petty revenge. The gray, is back and taking its time feeding from the birders' feeders, squeezing its head between the bars and then looking over its shoulder at me, as if to say, go on then what are you going to do now? This literally just happened not 2 minutes ago, at time of posting. I had to go to our town medical clinic for an apt this morning. Now this clinic serves several communities in a 50 kilometers radius so it's quite large and you have to pay to park in the lot. There is a kiosk by the doors and when you pay, your parking ticket is stamped so you can exit the lot. I'm sat by the doors waiting for my ride and an elderly lady approached the kiosk to pay for her parking. She had never used the machine before so was having trouble figuring it out when the security guard not only showed her how it worked but paid her fee for her. I am sat here with a big smile on my face. Faith in humanity restored. My great-grandfather Richard was serving on the USS Manchester in the Korean War. During a battle, not clear as to which one due to his age and memory, the Manchester suffered damage from an explosion that completely engulfed Richard in flames. He was saved by a fellow sailor who pushed him overboard, where he and other men remained treading water for about 12 or so hours. He sustained terrible burns to most of his body but was fortunate enough to walk away with his life. He was awarded his Purple Heart which remains on his mantle to this day. He's very proud. He is currently 91 years old and was just recently given a flag that was flown on the Manchester at my uncle's Navy retirement ceremony. I work for a company that manages short-term vacation rental homes. I provide guest services in a position that is a weird mix between a reservations agent and front desk. I mostly really enjoy my work, but some guests really make me scratch my head and wonder how they survive on their own. Understand we rent condos and private vacation homes. So a guest reaches out to complain the home was not cleaned before they arrived. So I ask questions about what they have identified that does not meet their cleanliness standards. The only complaint? Well, there was a load of towels in the washing machine wet. Oh, also we don't have any clean towels in the house. My response: sounds like housekeeping were not able to transfer the towels to the dryer before they left. I apologize they were not able to get this taken care of. If you transfer the towels to the dryer and start it up you will have the fresh towels you need. The towels are evidence housekeeping was in the home. They will usually start the laundry on arrival and transfer if midway through cleaning. They were definitely there. And #X200B. The guest accepts this explanation mostly. I sat giggling over this for about 5 minutes straight because I could not understand the inability to think through how the towels got in the machine as well as the fact moving them to the dryer would solve the lack of clean towels. I just started as a vet assistant, first big girl job post-college, and since it's a hospital setting, the uniform is scrubs. There's a local grocery store I frequent on my lunch break, as packing lunch for work at 5 a.m. is just too much to think about, so I roll up around 1 p.m. in my uniform, aka dog/cat hair covered scrubs. I originally assumed it's fairly obvious I don't work with humans due to the sheer amount of fur on my clothes, but over the past few weeks I've noticed not everyone is that observant. I've had people let me go ahead in line or offer to buy my coffee. I say no to this, I feel too guilty, but today was the weirdest. Old man in a mask came up to me outside said grocery store and quickly said thank you for what you do while we passed each other on the sidewalk. It was mostly sweet, but he'd walked away before I could respond that I do not actually have anything to do with COVID, thanks for the consideration though because my job is pretty hard. The weirdest part? Dude had a mask on and presumably wanted to thank a human nurse, but came well under 6 feet away from me to say this. Anyway, moral of the story, if you want to be that awkward person who thanks nurses in public, go for it, but make sure they aren't actually veterinarians, or better yet, thank your veterinarian. Often. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones lol. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was Lizzie and a crybaby so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. A couple of years ago I worked at an electronics store and, one evening, found myself cleaning the products after we'd closed. In our big, open store I had the whole floor to clean by myself after most of my colleagues had gone home. Bang. Bang bang bang. I looked up to see a smartly dressed middle-aged gentleman rattling the locked front door, frantically trying to enter the shop. "Let me in," he bellows ferociously. "Hi. Sorry, but we closed about 45 minutes ago. We're open as normal tomorrow," I say as I look up from cleaning. This was a common mistake of passers-by, so I didn't think much of it. "You've got my computer." "Sorry?" "In the back. My computer is in the back, go and get it." "Sorry, but we've been closed since 8:30 and everyone from the repair team has gone home. We're open first thing tomorrow, so if you come back then, we can help and sign it out for you," I calmly explain through the door. "Listen, I know you've got it, so just go in the back, get it for me and open this door," he menacingly mumbles at a volume still audible through the door. I don't know what else I can say. "I'm really sorry, but we are closed. We can't operate when the shop is closed and staff are not here," I reply, beginning to lose patience. I feared that I was going to have to explain to this person the very definition of the word closed. "I traveled half an hour to get here, and you're telling me that you're not going to give me my laptop, which I know you have? Is that what you're saying?" The confused, angry man continues. This went on for a good few minutes, and it struck me that this man was actually not going to ask for my manager. Perhaps he suspected that his best shot of reaping the benefits of his epic 30-minute trek was to bully a shop floor employee into submission. I had no other option. I had to do an FRK, full reverse Karen. I told him that I was going to speak to the manager. As I walked the length of the store into the back, I could hear the gentleman exclaiming his fury to the world in hope that his needs would be miraculously fulfilled by the universe if he poured enough anger and bad language into his immediate surroundings, the outside of our electronics store. My manager walked up to the gentleman at the door, patiently listened to his concerns, simply explained that when the store is closed we cannot conduct business, and told him that his only option was to return at a time when we are open. My account of events and the rage on the gentleman's face were enough for my manager to see that his only option was to deliver the news and remove himself from the situation. As I resumed the cleaning of my devices, I could hear the gentleman bellowing with the might of Zeus about the ridiculousness of such a farce and that he would be having some serious words with head office the next day. Finally, he retreated, as his terrified 6 to 7-year-old daughter sheepishly followed him away into the night. This happened a month ago when the epidemiological situation in our country was getting better. Me and my girlfriend are med students and were again having clinical practice after a 2-month break because of quarantine. I was rotating on neurology and had practice at the hospital on the day of the FU. My girlfriend had something at the university as well, so she slept over and gave me a hand job in the morning before leaving. After that I didn't have time for a shower, so I cleaned myself sloppily, pulled my boxers up, got dressed and left for hospital. As I mentioned, we had clinical practice for neurology and were learning how to do a complete neurological exam, so before practicing that on patients our professor decided to demonstrate the examination on one of the students. I volunteered as tribute. Now I don't know if you guys know that, but in a complete neuro exam doctors check all the reflexes and sensory neuron responses, which requires a patient to take off his pants. When I got undressed and laid on the bed in the center of everyone's attention, I noticed a large sugar stain on my dark blue boxers. That's when I realized there's about 30 minutes of embarrassment ahead of me. Doctor, didn't bother to change my underpants after a hand job, then let 20 classmates examine me and my underwear with a nut stain. A customer just gave me a hard time for not kicking out another customer who wasn't wearing a mask. First off, even though it's state mandated, my store told us we're not allowed to harass people or kick them out, just gently remind them once. And honestly, it's easy to tell retail workers to kick customers out, when you're not the one getting screamed at every time you even utter the word mask. It's easy for you to say when you're not the workers literally getting attacked for telling people to wear masks. I understand people should be wearing masks. But I already get regular abuse, and now I'm getting even more because of the masks. I don't get paid nearly enough for this shoot. Dr. Karen wanted a free day of a more expensive bounce house and I had to say no half price, and she told me I was ruining kids' birthday and had no heart during a pandemic. I actually had a choosing beggar moment today when I answered a call for the party company I work for. Karen is having a birthday party next month for her kids and family/friends. Karen is being a responsible Karen and is splitting the party into 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Karen wants to rent an inflatable bounce house with a water slide for a day. I quote the price and inform her of the conditions. Only guaranteed for 7 hours 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. She said, well, okay, that's doable. But could you not pick it up until after 12 p.m. on Sunday? Well, Karen, I must inform you that becomes a 2-day rental, and if you want it to be guaranteed past 7 p.m. on the Saturday, then you'll have to rent for 2 days. I might be able to work out a pricing deal for the second day. She begins to get upset and double down, stating she only needed it until 12 p.m. Sunday. 12 to 12 is 24 hours, that's 1 day. I informed her those 24 hours span over 2 days. But we could give her the second day at half price. She says that we should just leave it till Sunday, it shouldn't be a big deal. She can't afford 2 days. I told her they're not going to leave it for free when they can rent it out again full price. We're not going to block that day off for free. She starts trying to manipulate us into making her happy by talking about that other companies do also have our 2-day rental policy, but one would give her the extra day free. We should do the same. I stayed firm and said, from what you're telling me, we have the same industry standards as other companies. Karen, well, you're only the second company I've called and I don't want to keep calling around, so you're not going to guarantee me the Sunday free? Me, no, I cannot. Half price is the best offer. Then she wailed about COVID quarantine and her invites and why she needs the 2 days and we're so uncaring. I said, I'm sorry you feel that way, we've tried to work you. Karen said I'm ruining the children's birthday. She slammed the phone and I got informed of the email that complained I wasn't accommodating and disrespected her and I was rude. BC, I didn't say I'm sorry before I said no. A response was sent. I'd the response, but they said don't worry about it, we heard the whole call and no, I tried to work with her. She's gonna dedicate a whole day being a Karen to everyone, I surmise. At my last job, and now in my current job, I would have these mandatory performance reviews that include my performance goals for the upcoming year. When I sign up for these, it's with the express purpose of preparing for a merit increase at the end of the period. This never happened in my last job because they were always making bad decisions that left them scrambling to make ends meet, much less try to give people pay raises. In my new job, of course, there's been an impact from COVID, so I was told there would be no merit increases this year because there's no money available. Okay, I get it, and it's fine because I wasn't eligible this time around anyway, but for next year, they're already saying no raises at the end of this year, but they still want us to do the performance reviews and goal setting. Of course you want your workforce to continue to improve and to meet the demands of the job, but I'm doing that. I just get a kind of minor issue with putting in the effort to do the performance review, but with no payoff from me in it. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who feels this way. In my last job, it was completely pointless because no one even cared, not the employees, the bosses, or the managers. It was just a box you had to check, but here, it's like you're supposed to be all chipper about it like it's going to mean something. I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says fine, go duck yourself then, which I turn and tell at him for saying in front of U11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a long-time referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. I only get my hair cut about twice a year because going to the hairdressers awakens an admittedly pathetic deep-rooted imposter syndrome of making small talk and being forced to do so for a good 40 minutes or so. I mustered up the courage to get a wash and cut and successfully got my hair washed without assuming the fetal position. Sodden and bumbling I sat down in front of the mirror, and the lovely, smiley hairdresser tried to make conversation with me by asking where I like to party, presumably because I'm a 21-year-old female, totally reasonable conversation starter. I proceed to answer, in detail, that I do like to party in Manchester, however sometimes the transport is a little difficult as the taxi can be up to £50 back late at night, but the clubs are better than in my local town, so I tend to save that for special occasions. Otherwise, I do like to just go to the pub with my friends and talk rather than endure the hustle and bustle of the city every time. Drinks are also so expensive in Manchester, don't you think? And there are some really nice independent bars around here too. I proceeded to answer her question with surgical precision and detail, riding on the high of answering her question in a chatty and relaxed manner, but the hairdresser was smiling patiently and apologetically, comb poised, and repeated the question, "Where do you part it?" At least everyone in the hairdressers had a detailed rundown of my clubbing habits. TLDR, rabbited on about a completely irrelevant topic to my hairdresser and had to sit there chastising myself for the rest of the haircut.